You know, there's this deeply romantic idea we all have about passports.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to think of them as these little leather-bound diaries of our lives. You flip through the pages, see the stamps, those little rectangles of ink.
And they're proof, right?
Proof that you've been somewhere, that you've seen the world. It's a beautiful image.
It is.
I think we all want to be that traveler with the beat-up booklet full of memories. But if we're being honest, that's really the Hollywood version of it.
Exactly. Because for most of us, the reality isn't the stamp. The reality is the anxiety leading up to the stamp.
Oh, yeah.
It's the harsh fluorescent lights of the airport, the frantic search through your bag because you swore you put it in the front pocket, and the single most terrifying sentence you can hear, "I'm sorry, but."
Oh, that but. That but is doing so much heavy lifting in that sentence.
It is.
And it's usually followed by some, bureaucratic, invisible reason why you're absolutely not getting on that plane. And that is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating piece from the blog Wanderlust Over 70 by Roberta Hill.
Right.
It's called Passport Stories, not about stamps, but about the mistakes. And let me tell you, this is not your typical top 10 packing tips list. This is something different.
No, not at all. I mean, what really stands out to me here is that she shifts the focus completely.
Mm-hmm.
Usually travel writing is about the destination, the food, the sights. Here, she's focusing strictly on the document itself. These specific, often invisible failures that can just end a trip before it even starts.
And the folklore that comes from surviving them. Because some of these stories are, they're painful, but they're also really funny in retrospect.
Right.
It's about that very thin line between a dream vacation and a nightmare at the check-in desk.
It really is. It's a study on the fragility of our movement. We think we have this right to travel, but really all we have is a booklet. And if that booklet has the wrong date or a water stain, that right evaporates instantly.
So let's get into the first category of disaster. I call this the wrong document narratives. And Roberta starts with a story that honestly made my palms sweat just reading it.
This is a classic example of how trying to be safe can backfire spectacularly.
Right. So her mother is preparing for this big trip. And she thinks, okay, I don't want my brand new passport to get stolen or damaged, which, sounds logical.
Sure, protect the asset. But she overprotects it to the point of uselessness.
She leaves the new passport safely locked at home
Yeah.
and travels with the expired one.
Oh, no.
She essentially packed a souvenir.
Which, legally speaking, is the same as traveling with a Blockbuster card. It's just a booklet of memories. It has zero legal standing. The border guard doesn't care about your old stamps.
So imagine the scene. They get to the airport, the agent opens the passport, and there's that. That polite, devastating pause. You know the one.
The typing stops.
The typing stops. And Roberta describes her father's reaction as becoming quietly incandescent.
That is such a vivid description. It's a very specific type of dad anger, isn't it? He's not shouting. He's just glowing with pure rage.
Quietly incandescent. I love it. So what happened? Today, you'd just be sent home. Game over.
Absolutely, no question.
But this was in those days, as she puts it.
Right, which makes all the difference. They actually summoned a notary to the airport.
Can you imagine?
No. They drafted an affidavit right there confirming she was a Canadian in good standing. It cost them about $100, which was a lot of money back then, and a massive amount of stress. But they made the cruise.
It's amazing that worked.
It is. But Roberta's point is that it entered the family folklore. It became a story they tell at every Christmas.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You'd think an experienced traveler like Roberta would learn from this, right?
You'd think she would be hypervigilant.
But she fell into a similar trap herself. Not an expired passport. An identity switcheroo.
This one is so incredibly easy to do, especially for families. You're rushing, you grab the passports from the drawer, they all look the same.
Exactly. It's muscle memory. She gets to the airport holding 2 passports.
Yeah.
But realizes one of them belongs to her son.
Oops.
Now, she had a backup. She had her British passport. So she thinks, okay, crisis averted. I'll travel on this one.
And under normal circumstances, that might have been fine. But context is everything.
Because her mother decided to pop over to the U.S. for some shopping during the trip.
And that's the complication. When you cross borders, especially into the United States, consistency and data matching are everything. If you aren't on the passport they expect, you trigger a flag.
And that triggered the dreaded side room.
The secondary inspection. The black hole of travel time.
She describes this way. 15 minutes. Now, 15 minutes isn't long in real life. But when you're in a windowless room wondering if you're about to be deported,
It's an eternity. It's the uncertainty. You're completely helpless.
they were eventually waved through. But she calls it a small reminder of how fast a simple oversight can matter.
Which really highlights that you can't just operate on autopilot. We treat travel like catching a bus, but the systems watching us treat it like a security operation.
Precisely. Let's move on to the next category, because this one is, I think, the most common silent trip killer. We're talking about validity.
Ah, yes. The 6-month rule. This is the one that breaks hearts.
It catches so many people. You look at your passport, it expires in December. You're traveling in August. You think, I'm golden. 4 months.
But you are not golden. You are staying home.
So help us understand this.
Yeah.
Why does this rule even exist? If I'm there for 2 weeks and my passport is good for 4 months, what's the problem?
It's a great question. And it comes down to risk management. Countries are paranoid about people getting stuck.
Stuck how?
Like, you get sick, you get in legal trouble, a pandemic happens. They want to ensure you have a valid travel document that lasts long enough to get you home later than planned.
Ah, so it's a buffer zone. It's an insurance policy for the host country.
Exactly. A buffer. Many countries require your passport to be valid for 6 months beyond your return date. Not your departure date, your return date.
And the result of missing this isn't some dramatic interrogation, right?
No, that's the insidious part. It ends quietly at the kiosk. The boarding pass it never prints. The machine flashes red. You aren't yelled at. You're just not going on vacation.
That is heartbreaking. But this leads us to a really critical distinction Roberta makes. The difference between border authority and airline authority.
Yes, this is a fundamental misunderstanding most travelers have. We think the airline is just the bus driver.
Right.
But in the world of international borders, the airline is the first line of defense. They are the bouncer at the club.
Roberta writes, border officials decide who can enter a country. Airlines decide who they're willing to carry there.
And those are not the same decision. And the why behind it is cold, hard cash. If an airline flies you somewhere and you get rejected at the border, the airline is on the hook.
On the hook how?
Oh, it's bad. First, they have to fly you back immediately, at their own expense. But more importantly, they get hit with a huge fine from the destination government for bringing an inadmissible passenger.
Fine.
Thousands of dollars per passenger. So they're protecting their wallet.
That's why they're so strict?
Precisely. This system is called carrier liability. And as Roberta points out, there is no appeal at the check-in desk. You can argue all you want. If their computer says no, their no is final.
That's such an important mental shift. You have to
I-
satisfy the airline before you even get a chance to satisfy the country.
Correct. Okay, let's talk about names, because this is another area where close enough is not good enough.
Right. Roberta shares that she has a somewhat common name.
Which, in the digital age, can be a curse.
She says she's been stopped twice because her first and last name matched someone with issues in the United States.
Issues is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. It likely means someone on a watch list. The database scan is binary. It looks for Roberta Hill. It finds a hit. It doesn't know the difference between our Roberta Hill, the travel writer, and some other one.
So every time she travels, she's guilty until proven innocent. That sounds exhausting.
It is. But she found the fix.
The middle name.
It seems so simple, but it changes the data point. Roberta Jean Hill is a different data entity than Roberta Hill.
So if your name is John Smith or Maria Garcia.
Use your full legal name. Middle names, suffixes, anything to differentiate yourself. You want your ticket and passport to match exactly with that middle name to prove you aren't the other guy.
Okay, let's pivot from the data inside the passport to the actual physical object, the booklet, because this is something I am definitely guilty of ignoring.
The wet passport warning.
Yes, and this comes from stories she heard about backpackers in New Zealand.
Perfect setting for it. Rain, rivers.
This is the dreaded water-resistant pouch. I thought that was the solution.
It's often a false sense of security. The stories are about moisture just getting in, maybe from humidity or condensation.
And paper is a sponge.
Exactly. Roberta points out the specific damage. Water warps the pages and lifts the ink. Now, to you or me, a wavy page looks like it has character.
Right. It looks like an Indiana Jones prop. It looks cool.
But to a border scanner, it looks like a defective document. Or worse, a tampered document.
Tampered? How does a water stain look like tampering?
Well, think about how people fake passports. They use chemicals to wash out ink or peel back the laminate. That physical stress on the paper, the warping, the bleeding ink, it can look almost identical to water damage.
So you hand them a wet passport, and they don't see backpacker, they see forger.
Exactly. And Roberta says it so bluntly. Border officials don't care how good the story is.
She says, dry, boring, and intact always wins.
That should be the mantra. A boring passport is a working passport.
So, keeping it dry is rule one. But that leads to the next question.
Right.
Where do you keep it? This is a huge debate.
The great storage debate.
You've got the it never leaves my body people with the neck wallets.
Which are so uncomfortable.
And the lock it up people. Roberta takes a very strong stance here. She says, do not carry it with you.
It's a strong recommendation from her. Leave it in the hotel safe.
But people feel safer having it on them. I know I do. I have this movie playing in my head where I need to flee an earthquake or a coup or something.
That's the psychological trap. We imagine these dramatic scenarios. But Roberta points out that loss and theft happen in ordinary moments.
Like moving your bag at a cafe.
Or getting pickpocketed on the metro. Or it just falling out of your pocket in a taxi. Statistically, the mundane risk is so much higher than the dramatic risk.
That's a really good reality check.
Her alternative is carry a photocopy and a proper photo ID, like a driver's license. But keep the golden ticket, the actual passport, locked away.
It makes sense. If you lose your driver's license, it's a hassle. If you lose the passport.
Your trip is over. You're not sightseeing anymore. You're spending your vacation in a consulate, filling out forms, and missing your flight home.
Which brings us right back to the beginning. The anxiety. I'm sorry, but...
It really is a minefield.
But I love how Roberta ends this post. She doesn't end on fear. She ends on philosophy.
She does. She reframes the whole thing.
She writes, if you've traveled long enough, you don't avoid passport mistakes. You collect them.
That's such a healthy way to look at it, isn't it? Mistakes aren't just failures. They become stories. They become folklore.
Like the incandescent father.
Like the incandescent father. It shifts the narrative from shame to experience. If you travel, things will go wrong. The goal isn't perfection, it's resilience.
And maybe double-checking your expiration date so you don't have to be quite that resilient.
That certainly helps. Prevention is better than a good story, in my opinion.
So let's do a rapid-fire recap, a deep dive checklist. If you're planning a trip right now, what are the non-negotiables?
Okay. 1. Check the expiry date. Is it valid for 6 months after your planned return?
Got it. The buffer zone. 2.
Check the name. Does it match your ticket? If you have a common name, add that middle name.
Differentiate your data. 3.
Physical condition. Is it dry? Is it flat? If your dog chewed the corner, replace it. Boring is better.
And 4.
The who am I? Check. Open the book before you leave. Make sure you didn't grab your husband's or your kid's passport. Look at the face!
Sounds so basic, but the grab-and-go error happens.
It really does.
You know, talking about all of this, it really makes you think. We spend months planning trips, booking flights, researching hotels. But the one thing that allows us to do any of it is this fragile little booklet of paper and glue.
It is fragile, and it raises a thought for me. We talk about freedom of movement as a human right, but really, how much of our freedom sits on a piece of paper that can be defeated by a rainstorm or a 15-minute expiration overlap?
That's a terrifying thought. Our access to the world is literally held together by stitching.
It is. So treat it with respect. Keep it dry, keep it valid, and keep it safe.
And if you do mess up, well, at least you'll have a good story for the blog.
That's the spirit.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into passport stories. Safe travels, everyone, and seriously, go check your expiration dates right now.
Check them. Goodbye.